Hey, it's Brian. I'm going to quickly go through why Ultimate Frisbee athletes should be using isometrics in their training and why lifting itself is not a complete form of strength training to prepare us for the stressors of Ultimate Frisbee. I've been playing Ultimate Frisbee since 2005. I've been a professional trainer for over 15 years, done over 20,000 training sessions, worked with hundreds of Ultimate Frisbee athletes at all levels, and all of this is me at various times. This was this past year at Masters Nationals. This was 2009, 2015, 2021, 2016. I love to throw my body around, jump, lay out, etc. And what tends to happen with that is you also get injured. So I've dealt with tons of pain myself. I've trained myself through it, as well as many other athletes. And I want to let you in on a lot of stuff that works really well, isometrics for today. So let's get to it. Okay, so why do we use isometrics? Let me make that a little smaller. Isometrics help us strength train and rehab very specifically and precisely. They can help us improve joint and tendon health, increase range of motion, and improve our strength and stability within the ranges we have, right? Great stuff. So let me give you a couple quick examples. What I'm going to show you here is this is an example of using isometrics for the soleus and Achilles. So we find a bit of a stretch, and then I'm pushing down, like gas pedaling down through that foot. And this is sped up, so I'm kind of showing you I'm doing this for a significant amount of time. I'm changing the angles. So an isometric is something when we are not moving and we are pushing. A really effective way to do this is to push against an immovable surface, an immovable something. So in this case, I'm holding with my hands so that when I push down, my body doesn't move. So I'm kind of pushing against that rack there. And I'm building up tension, holding for 10, 20, 30 seconds. I'm accumulating multiple minutes of these isometrics. Here's another example where I'm pushing down with my feet and pulling with my hands. Okay, so I'm pushing and pulling, I'm fighting, and I'm pushing into the floor to create lots of tension through my quads, through my patellar tendon. So the muscles and tissues around the knee are working really hard, but they're not going to be able to move. So these are great examples of isometrics. Both of these, I do a version of this every single day at various intensities just to help reduce pain and inflammation, tends to be my pain areas, and also improve the tendon and connective tissue health. And the connective tissues are basically the stuff that is not bone and is not muscle. Technically, it's all connective tissue, but for this purpose, I'm talking about like tendons, ligaments, stuff like that. This is where we tend to get a lot of overuse injuries, sometimes traumatic injuries related to those tissues just not being fully prepared for the demands of what we're doing. So connective tissue doesn't adapt in the same way or at the same rate as muscle. Doing things like isometrics, where we're holding a position and creating force, preferentially trains the connective tissue. So it's going to train the connective tissue more than the muscle, though it can still build muscle and build strength. But the tendons are going to get more of that stimulus and they're going to adapt more. If we just do things like lifting, the tendons, the ligaments are not going to get the same stimulus to adapt. The muscles are going to get stronger at a greater rate than our connective tissue, and that can lead to some big problems. All right, moving on, we can also use isometrics to increase our range of motion and strength. So if you have a particular range of motion that you want to improve, you're very tight in your hamstrings, for example, one thing you can do is get at end range, and you wouldn't want to do this if it's painful. End range, this is a client of mine, he played professional basketball, and he's got a stretch in the hamstrings. Okay, and what he's going to do is dig down with his heel, build up that force, feeling all of these muscles working. He's going to build up slowly, get to max effort, and he's going to hold that maximum effort for 8 to 10 seconds, and after that point, he's going to then try to reverse it and pull away into a greater range of motion. Most likely going to get very little movement. It's very tough to actually move your body at end range. Over time, that type of exercise is going to help increase your available range of motion and improve your strength within that range. So way more effective than just holding a stretch passively. Okay, here's another example. If you're trying to improve your groin mobility, okay, or like bear sit position. So you drive your thighs into your arms, same idea, right? You're using the stretched muscles to create force. But what happens is when you push hard and they don't move for an extended period of time, the connective tissues are what's taking on the force. It strengthens them, and then you have more ability to increase your range of motion. Okay, so if I do the same process as for the hamstrings here, right after that push, I'm going to use the muscles on my outer hips to pull away and pry my hips further open. This is extremely effective, like I said, for increasing range of motion and building greater strength within our end ranges, within the positions we have access to. Super cool, but it takes effort. It takes some stimulus, just like with strength training, just like with lifting. You wouldn't do something that's super easy all the time and expect to make big changes. Okay, next up. So I got this comment when I was doing some isometrics from a deep squat position on Instagram, and someone said, or you could just squat and do the same movement as you do in the game, or do Bulgarians. Okay, so he's saying, well, you just do lifts and then practice what you want to do. What's the point of doing isometrics? Well, I hopefully just explained some of that, but let's get into that too. Lifting doesn't train your full range of motion or your weakest positions with enough time or focus. So a lot of people think, okay, if I just lift through a full range of motion, I just do squats and deadlifts and lunges, pull-ups, bench press, whatever, through a full range of motion, that's the best way to improve mobility. That's the best way to increase range of motion and get strength where I need it. I really don't need to do anything else to prepare my body. And that is very, very wrong. So I just thought this was funny. This is me a few years ago. So like, take this quick example. Okay, watch this. I'm jumping up. My hips can, in the air, open up like that. Okay, to help keep me balanced so that I can try to toe the line, right? I need that active dynamic mobility to do that. Then look at that position of my ankle of all that force coming down. Then I smash down on my left shoulder. A squat, a bench press, a pull-up is not going to prepare me for forces at those awkward angles at really high forces. So we need to be training through full ranges of motion, rotational ranges of motion, moving our hips out to the sides. Just doing a full range of motion squat is not going to prepare my ankles for this. Or for this one too. I love to play self-fetch. I throw the disc to myself. Oh, I skipped. My bad. All right. Let's go through. So here's this one. Boom. Boom, right? Neither of these was I injured, okay? Because I train my joints. I train my knees and my ankles, my hips and my shoulders to be able to handle forces in all directions. And I do that with isometrics and something called CARs, controlled articular rotations, which some of you might be familiar with. I will link something in the description for more CARs videos. Okay, so I hope you can understand, and this makes it clear, that lifting is not going to fully prepare us for the sport. So we want to lift, and we also want to go out and practice, but there's other forms of strength training. So mobility, isometrics, CARs are a form of strength training when done properly to progressively increase strength and resilience through large and awkward ranges of motion that we know Ultimate is going to put us in, okay? So we want to train for the specific demands of Ultimate and not other sports. This is another big deal with lifting. So a lot of players will put so much into their lifting as if they're almost a power lifter when that is not the sport, okay? So this is Hafthor Bjornsson. He is the world's strongest man, or at least he was last time I checked, at the deadlift, okay? He has a massive, insane deadlift. So that is his sport. Like, lifting a heavy bar is literally his sport. He competes in that. So if his lifting looks like or if his training looks like a ton of lifting several times a week, super heavy, lots of deadlifts, maybe some squats, that makes a lot of sense, because when he is lifting, not only is he training for his sport, he is also practicing his sport at the same time. For Ultimate players, yes, lifting can help us increase certain capacities that will help us in our practice, but we also have to practice. We also have to literally practice, go throw, work on speed, work on change of direction, work on power, etc. We have many things to train. He has one thing to train, okay? So we need to prepare our body using mobility training. And yes, lifting does play a role, but a lot of players mistakenly put way too much stock into their lifting and make it about maximizing their squat, maximizing their deadlift or bench press, when it might not even improve their performance after a certain point. Okay, so at the same time, now there are two things that can be true at once. We also don't want our training to just mimic exactly what we do on the field. So we want to train to improve specific qualities that will help us prepare for our skills and practice. So I might work to improve my hip mobility through the use of various active stretching, isometrics. That improved hip mobility will help me get more out of my sprinting and my pivoting when I practice it. But I'm not going to just like hold a light weight and pivot with it, or like try to sprint holding weight, right? I deadlift will help me improve posterior chain strength and muscle, which I can then use to practice my power and speed. I still need to practice the power and speed, but I'm not, what a lot of players or people do is they will go in the gym and they'll try to do stuff with weight that looks like the sport. So what they end up doing is they're not actually improving their strength, because if they're trying to do some weird coordination thing, they can't use enough weight to improve strength. And they're not improving the skill either, because it's awkward. Like imagine if you try to just grab a 15-pound Frisbee. Would you improve your throws? Absolutely not. You wouldn't be able to get the coordination needed or the speed needed to make it specific enough to improve the skill you're working on. So yes, we can improve specific positions. We can work on isometrics and things that target certain areas of our body to make them stronger so they can handle throwing, jumping, sprinting, etc. Right? We can build muscle and strength with our lifts, but that is a distinctly different thing than practicing a skill on the field like change of direction, sprinting, jumping, throwing. Okay, so a couple things can be true at once. We can put way too much into like heavy lifting and treat that as our sport when it's not our sport. We want to make sure we have enough resources to practice and recover for ultimate. So that can be true. And also, we don't want to just try to like copy what we're doing in our sport with like a little bit of weight. You know, some people will put bands or cables around and they'll try to like kick a ball or throw something. Don't do that. Go out and practice. Okay, so hopefully that's clear, right? So what this guy said about you could just squat and then do the same movement as you do in the game, there is a point to that, right? You don't want to just like mimic something just for the sake of it in the gym. However, when we do our mobility work, when we do our isometrics, that is not only going to improve our connective tissue health, reduce inflammation and pain, it's also going to build strength specific to where we need it. Okay, so to give you a quick example of this, a lot of players struggle to get low when they're playing defense or changing direction. Some of it is just because their body isn't comfortable or strong there, so they don't drop down, or maybe they have pain there. So if you do an isometric in a deep squat in a wide position, your body is going to get more comfortable there, it's going to get stronger there, and you might reduce pain or discomfort in that position. And then when you practice your defense, your body will be more prepared to be there. So just saying, oh, do this thing, doesn't always make sense if the body isn't prepared for it. So isometrics and CARs are an extremely powerful and potent training stimulus that a lot of players should be using in addition to the strength training. These are just a few of my clients, Alex Atkins, Jacob Smith, who won a national championship with Revolver this past year, and my buddy TJ, who played professional basketball overseas. So all of them use mobility training to improve their performance, their health, their longevity, as should you. Thanks for being here. I hope you got something good out of this. Have a great rest of the day.